Alright guys, so this is a remake of a video I did ages ago. This is a video of a fairy tale AU that I did a long-ass time ago. It was a very, very long time ago that I did this video, and I decided, you know what, it's high time I finally bring it back. I've been thinking about it, and I thought I'd add, and there's new characters to add. So this is kind of a Disney fairy tale AU, in that, different characters are made into fairy tale characters, but there's a twist in this universe. It takes a little bit of Ruby, and keep in mind the last time I did this video, I didn't really get into Ruby, so now I can kind of see the Ruby connection. So in this fairy tale world, there's two things. There's this magical kingdom, and it's protected by huntsmen. And huntsmen are basically heroes that have either abilities or weapons they use to protect the world from, magical monsters, trolls, orcs, cyclopses, giants, dragons, all of that. And especially they protect the world from these beings known as the Wicked Ones. And the Wicked Ones are basically the A game, like they're the rogues gallery. They're the ones with all these other powers and abilities. So yes, I didn't see Ruby before then, but when I saw Ruby, I was like, oh, it is kind of like that story. So yeah, so I'm kind of fully embracing the Ruby connection here. So yeah, and I do have a list of characters because there were so many, and I'm going to talk about like all their changes to this. So, so the big thing with this is that we're going to start with the heroes and huntsmen. So the main focus of this is Star Butterfly in this story, who is basically Snow White. Her family, the Butterfly family, alongside the Pines brothers, basically how their family became, the rulers of, the protectors of this kingdom, is that they overthrew they defeated a monstrous being that plagued the country called the Jabberwock. And the Jabberwock was defeated, and by Moon and the Pines brothers. So basically, the Pines brothers became like advisors to the queen, and at the same time, Moon also deposed her wicked stepmother, or rather wicked grandmother in this story. So Eclipsa is the wicked grandmother, wicked stepmother, and more importantly, she's called the Wicked Witch and leader of the Wicked Ones. So yes, in this story, she is the Wicked Witch of the West, but there's a little more to that. Whereas Moon is the blue fairy from Pinocchio. But there's a little more to that, because some characters are two characters in one. Like there are some of these characters are two characters in one. But let's go through some of the heroes, the huntsmen of the story. So starting off with Dipper and Mabel, who are Hansel and Gretel. In this story, in this universe, Dipper and Mabel, like I said, are Hansel and Gretel, and they did survive a witch that tried to eat them. But the thing is, Dipper took the spell book that the witch used and learned magic, while Mabel learned how to use weapons. So Mabel handles all the, knives, bows, swords, all of that. Well, Dipper uses like he conjures magic. Like he can, harness magic. And he's actually learning from Ford. He's actually learning how to use the spell, learn spells and magic from Ford, who in this universe is Merlin. In this universe, when wizards become powerful enough, they take on new names. Like they gain new name, like it's a wizard name, kind of like a Darth thing. So in here, Ford is Merlin, whereas Stan is known as Ozymandias, the great wizard Ozymandias. Just think of the two letters and you'll understand why that works. Just think on it. He's Oz. He's the Wizard of Oz. So you probably already know where that's going. Anyway, so following that is Anne, Sasha, and Marcy, who together are known as the Three Musketeers. But separately, they're three different characters in their own right, where Anne is Peter Pan. She actually has the ability to fly. She actually is capable of flight thanks to pixie dust that was given to her by Moon. Then you have Marcy, who is Ichabod Crane. She's clumsy, but also her thing is that she's capable. She's actually just really brilliant. She's actually like quite brilliant, but also very clumsy. And finally, Sasha, who is Lancelot of Arthurian legend. But together, the three of them call themselves the Three Musketeers. So those are there's that. Then we have Meteora, who Meteora. We'll get to her back to her. I got a little ahead of myself. We have Pen Zero, who is Jack the Giant Slayer, who in here, Rippin was the giant he slew after it came and killed his parents, but he was also Jack and the Beanstalk. So his whole thing is that he's the resident giant expert, a giant killing expert of the group. Then we have Sashi, who is both Red Riding Hood and the Woodsman. And what I mean is that Sashi is actually tied directly to the big bad wolf of this story, and if you remember that video long ago, then you'll know who the big bad wolf is, but we'll get to that one in a moment. Basically in here, Sashi is an expert monster hunter. While she has no abilities like Jack does, Jack has no abilities either, but Sashi basically is an expert hunter, particularly in werewolves, because the big bad wolf killed and ate her parents. And her, basically killed and ate her whole family. But there was a reason for that. So there's Sashi. Then we have Randy, who is Robin Hood. But here's the thing: he's not a huntsman like the others. In fact, he's kind of an outlaw who doesn't trust the royal family. In fact, there's a little more to him that we'll get to in the story. But yeah, he basically does. He and his merry band of merry men. You have Howard, who is Little John. You have Teresa, who is Maid Marian. And you have Julian in his company, who is actually the Mad Hatter. And as the Mad Hatter, he's capable of basically, Julian's whole thing is like he makes like poisons and like special weapons and special arrows for Randy to use. But Randy is also considered an outlaw. He's not a wicked one, but he's also he's also considered an outlaw who's been stealing from the royal family. He's just a professional thief. There's a little more to him, which we'll get back to. I do have the list down, like I said. We talked about Star. Then we have Luz, who is Aladdin. She actually grew up wanting to be like one of the Huntsmen, but she's just a little orphan thief who just wants to, who looks up to them and also is kind of like a squire, and the other huntsmen just let her hang around because she's all like, hey, I want to be like you guys. She's kind of like she's almost like the Jimmy Olsen or Rick Jones of the group, where she's just like the big fangirl who gets to hang out with all these people. Then you have Alador, Amity's father, who is Geppetto. And in here, Alador is like the machine smith for the team. He basically fixes weapons. He creates new weapons and armor for the huntsmen, and he also provides like shelter for Luz. It's because Amity is his pride and joy, and Amity in this continuity is Cinderella. In here, she is studying, she is training, but she doesn't. But her father doesn't want her to be a huntsman. He kind of keeps her away from that life. But at the same time, he is making something special for her. He's making her special shoes. He's basically making special glass slippers that will give her, like invisibility. So he does and he doesn't want her to be a huntsman, because the family's kind of looked very kind of poorly on, which we'll get to. Then we have Boone, also from Pen Zero Part-Time Hero, and here is the Cowardly Lion. In this story, Boone was basically a warrior from a clan of people who were all warriors, but he was also skittish, and basically he wears a lion skin that has like reinforced, is actually like impervious to arrows and swords. It also gives him extra strength, but the thing is, he's such a coward, he tends to run away. Then you have Seuss, who is Pinocchio in here. Alador basically made him as one of his first experiments, because there was another experiment he worked on, but he lost it. but he made that one of metal. Kind of see where this is going, but this one is made of wood. And as Seuss also has abilities. He was with the help of the Blue Fairy, aka Moon. Alador gave Pinocchio the ability, gave Seuss the ability to control plants. So he's kind of like a Swamp Thing character. Then we have Willow, who is Rapunzel. And in here, basically, her hair, while Willow's hair is longer, it's actually more plant-like. It's vines. It's all these long vines that she can use, kind of like Medusa from the Inhumans. Then we have Milo from Milo's you guys remember that show, Milo? Yeah, Milo Murphy. You remember that show? So that's Milo Murphy. And here, he's the Scarecrow. I'll get back to him in a bit, but I'll explain why he's the Scarecrow in a bit. Then we have Melissa, also from Milo Murphy, who she is both Ariel and Dorothy. And I'll explain in a moment. I'll explain right now. Basically, she's 2-in-1 because she also was given shoes by Moon, and those shoes, whenever she clicks them, she can teleport. So she's learned how to click her shoes together really fast and keep teleporting as she keeps fighting monsters. She's also a huntsman. But here's the thing: those shoes she keeps on at all time, because if she takes them off, she goes back to being a mermaid. Yep, she's like I said, she's Ariel because she was a mermaid who actually saved Star from drowning at one time. They were out on a boat, they were sailing, and there was a storm that knocked Star off the boat. Melissa came as a mermaid and rescued the princess, and in turn, Moon basically was like, well, what do you want? What would you like to have? And Moon goes, Melissa goes, I'd like to walk on land like you, like the rest of you. So she's like, here, take these shoes, and when you put them on your flippers, they'll turn into legs. So there you go. Then we have Molly from The Ghost and Molly McGee, who in here, she's Alice. She's not really a huntsman. She's actually a huntsman in training, and is always getting into trouble. Her curiosity always gets her into trouble. Then we have Sprig, who is the Frog Prince. Again, another character we'll get into in a bit. And then we have finally Lilith, who is Ka. I know what you're thinking. Lilith is Ka. What's going on here? Basically, Lilith's whole thing is that she has a snake for a wand, and that's her wizard name, is Ka. More or less what Lilith does is act as a advisor to Moon. She also has the ability to hypnotize people and get information out of them. That's her whole thing, is that she can she foresees things and can also hypnotize people, whether they be wicked ones or something else, and get the information they need out of them, or hypnotize them to do her bidding. So there is that. Now let's move on to the Wicked Ones. So the Wicked Ones, like I said, are led by Eclipsa, who is the Wicked Witch. Then we have Pacifica, who is the Queen of Hearts. Her version of the Queen of Hearts is a lot different. You see, Pacifica is an assassin who is she's kind of like Deathstroke, and her whole thing is that she cuts out the hearts of her targets and leaves them for other people. And she also has a nasty thing of decapitating people too. So that's why she's called. Her tagline is the Queen of Hearts. She's not an actual queen. She's an assassin. So, yeah, lovely. Then we have Marco, who is two people in one. He is Captain Hook, and he is also, from Slavic mythology, Koschei the Deathless. In this story, Marco was a young Spanish pirate who was trying to rescue his crew. His crew was captured by the Queen's men, and he tried to save them. He lost, and he was hoping to go down with his ship, and with the crew that he managed to rescue, they all died. But Moon kept him from dying. She made him immortal, so now he cannot die. So he's, like I said, Captain Hook and Koschei the Deathless. Then we have Gideon, who is Honest John, who is nothing more than a simple, like, con man who's been run out of town one too many times. Then you have Ludo, who is the troll under the bridge, because that's too perfect. Rain is part of the Wicked Ones, and Rain is the Pied Piper. Because, again, that's too perfect. More or less what they can do. I'm sorry, mispronoun. What Rain can do is that they can, they have a flute that they use to hypnotize and also mind control people. They've been run out of town multiple times, and they are just like, all right, fuck those people. I'm going to get my revenge at some point. Then you have Toffee, who is a multitude of characters. Basically, Toffee's not even his real name. Toffee is an immortal who has taken on many names throughout the centuries. He's been Shere Khan, he's been the Crocodile, he's been Shan Yu, he's been even known as the Count of a land called Monte Cristo. But his real name is Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah, Toffee's Rumpelstiltskin in here. He's an immortal who's taken on so many names, and, like, again, if you know Rumpelstiltskin's name, like in the story, then you have power over him. So that's why he's immortal, and he's been changing his name so much and gone under the name Toffee. Then we have Wendy as the Big Bad Wolf. You see, in this story, Wendy was from a clan of wolves who were her family was slaughtered by an angry mob who were losing cattle and chickens left and right, and their family was blamed for it. So Sashi's family led an angry mob to hunt down and kill the wolves. But Wendy was out; she survived, and in retaliation, Wendy went to the Kobayashi house and killed and ate the rest of them. So, yeah, like I said, Wendy's the Big Bad Wolf, and she also has the ability to control wind, very much like Big B Wolf from Fables. But she can huff and puff and, blow your house down. Then we have Bill, who is the Cheshire Cat, but Bill Cipher also is another person. He's the Jabberwock. Essentially, he was not killed by Moon. He was more or less wounded, and since he lost his eye, and they kept his eye in the castle, Bill can't be reformed and become the Jabberwock again. So that's his whole thing, is he wants his eye back so he can become his true self again. Then we have Tom Lucitor from Beauty and the Beast, who is, Star Wars: The Force of Evil, but he is the Beast. Essentially, he was a young nobleman who wanted he wanted equal rights for both men and monsters out there, but Moon thought that was too dangerous and cursed him if he wants to live like a beast, he can go be a beast. So she turned him into the Beast, and the only thing is he needs that flower, which is kept locked away in the vault of the castle. Then you have Grimes, who is the Sheriff of Nottingham. He was an ex-member of the Huntsmen, but he was corrupt and taking money on the side, so he was kicked out. Or so the story goes. If you haven't noticed, there's a theme going on. Then we have Ida in here, her wizard name was Baba Yaga, and she was trapped in a lamp by Moon. Yeah, she's also the genie. Then you have Emra and Edric, who are the step-siblings from Cinderella, with Odalia being Lady Trelane, because shocker. Then you have Robbie, who's Gaston, who, Robbie was basically an asshole, and also an ex-huntsman. And then we have Hunter, from, again, Owl House, who was the Tin Woodsman, and he was the steadfast Tin Soldier. Basically, in here, he was Alador's first creation, but he was a little too sentient and harder to control, so Moon made him give him up confused and feeling like he lost everything, he attacked people and led him to get his leg blown off, so now he was forced to limp into the woods. where he was found by Eclipsa. Then finally we have Belos as Jafar, who was also a powerful wizard who served in the Magic Council with Moon. He got kicked out because he was too evil. So yeah. Now, if you've noticed that some of the characters aren't as evil as they seem, and there's a reason for that, is because the whole story is that the Wicked Ones cause a break into a ball, and they kidnap Star for ransom to get the things they want out of that vault. But in doing so, Star learns about the true history of everything. She learns about the true history of everything that happened. Turns out her mom wasn't this good blue fairy. She was her real name is Maleficent. That's her wizard name is Maleficent, and Eclipsa's wizard name was Glenda. So she's Glenda the Good Witch. And yeah, it turns out that Moon essentially usurped Eclipsa to gain power, and has been ruling and pretending to be all kind, when really she's just kind of putting down rebellions and whatnot. Now granted, some of the characters are evil, like Belos and a few others, but and Belos was in their alliance with the Wicked Ones. It was just more of a means to an end. But Rain, she was just trying to entertain children, and she was also using her why do I keep saying her? I apologize. They were just using their flute. They were just using their flute to not only just entertain, but also steal money so they could give it to starving children out in the streets of the city of the kingdom. But they got busted for it. And I apologize for that misuse of pronouns earlier. Grimes was accused of stealing money and selling it to the wicked, and buying things from the Wicked Ones, when really what he was really doing was that he was basically not going around collecting taxes. He was basically giving away, he was being lenient with people. He was just being very lenient with others, although he was kind of him and Randy don't get along because he's the Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood. The reason being is because Randy would steal money that he was already trying to save for poor people, so there was a miscommunication. So Grimes got got swatted aside by the kingdom. Then you have Stan, who was never a wizard to begin with. He just makes himself like a big powerful dude, when really he's just kind of a con artist. As for others like Meteora and Sprig, they were all people who were cursed by Moon because they all had connections to Eclipsa. And Meteora is the man in the iron mask, and she's the true heir to the throne outside of Eclipsa, because that's her daughter. So Eclipsa lost her daughter, and Moon put Meteora in a mask and hid her deep in the dungeon and deep in a vault, which also acts as her dungeon. That's why Eclipsa wanted to get it. She wants to get her daughter again. Then you have, like I said, Sprig, who is the Frog Prince, and Ida was trying, who helped in that battle and helped Moon get to the throne, was like, hey, you said things were going to be different for us. You didn't do anything. And Moon was like, fuck you, into the lamp you go. So there was that. So that's kind of the story, is that it's more or less Star trying to bring peace between some of the Wicked Ones, because some of them are evil, and others and the Huntsmen who are on the mission to save her. So that was pretty much the story. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this AU? I know this is kind of a long video, but there was a lot to explain with it. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.